This is the Dave Elliott Show.
Well, good morning. It's Monday, the 20th day of July for 2026. Thank you for finding a few minutes to hang with us today. We have a pretty good lineup for you. We have a lot of guests coming on the show today. Just to give you an example of who I'm talking about, author J.W. Kerwin will be here in just a few minutes to talk with us about his new book entitled Fixing Uncle Sam, a modern U.S. Constitution to fix a broken and broke government. He has a plan, and we'll talk about that. At 7:30 this morning, Melissa Blazier, the Collier County Supervisor of Elections, will be here. At 8 o'clock, we're going to check in with our longtime friend, former political science professor at Florida Gulf Coast University, Peter Bergeson. Dr. Peter Bergeson will talk about the current Florida election situation and what he sees from his many years of experience as the race to watch. And then at 8:15, we're going to be joined by our good buddy, J.C. Bruce. We're going to talk about the big soccer final that happened yesterday between Spain and Argentina. I guess if you're a soccer fan, you were pretty thrilled by the game. I will have to confess that I watched a portion of the game, not the whole game. I think we watched it from halftime on, and apparently we didn't miss anything since at halftime it was 0-0. And, of course, the game wound up going into what they call extra time, and Spain came out with a 1-0 victory. You notice how I'm learning the soccer terminology. I don't know what any of it means. I don't even understand extra time. I can tell pretty much a foul when I see one because people fall down on the ground and make lots of grimaces and make noise and stuff like that. But that's what I know about soccer. Now, it looks like we have fixed our connectivity problems, and if that's true, we'll find out today. I have been told that the upgrades to our internet network have been completed and that we should have no further interruptions, although I did notice that the web program Xfinity Stream stopped working last night, and it's not working this morning. So if you happen to be one of those people who watches your cable by streaming it through Xfinity Stream, you're probably not going to have much luck until they get that fixed. I will be reporting that to technical support this morning. The weather forecast looks pretty nice, too. Right now, it's about 80 degrees outside. That's not so nice. There is a forecast today for temperatures to reach about 90, which is a little cooler than we've had recently. A mix of clouds and suns, high around 90. Winds south at 15 to 25. They describe the UV index as extreme, 75% humidity. Sunset tonight at 8:19. Tomorrow we're going to be a little bit warmer, considerable clouds early in the day, some decrease in clouds later in the day, the high 92. Winds tomorrow out of the south at 10 to 20. And overnight tomorrow night, low will be around 78. Then Wednesday, 77 and 92. On Thursday, we can expect a little bit more rain. There's like a 42% chance of rain. I don't know how they arrive at that number. But on Thursday, we could see a little rain. Sunny in the morning, increasing clouds, some scattered thunderstorms late in the day. So you have that to look forward to, you lucky dog you. AccuWeather hurricane experts, meanwhile, are tracking Tropical Depression 2 in the eastern Gulf. That should bring some heavy rain and gusty winds to much of the Gulf Coast through the week. A cluster of not in our area, by the way. We could see some effects of this tropical whatever it is, but it's heading more toward the west. It's going to form in the northern Gulf We could pick up some rain and wind from the circulation going around the center of the storm. So be ready for that. But as far as direct impacts from a tropical system, nothing to really worry about. The area of stormy weather is moved over the warm waters of the eastern Gulf, where it has developed circulation. You can look at it on a satellite loop and see that it's beginning to rotate, not in terms of a hurricane, but just a counterclockwise flow around the center. AccuWeather meteorologists designated this entity as a tropical rainstorm Saturday to raise awareness of the growing risk of flooding across portions of the northern and western Gulf Coast. Again, we're pretty much out of the severe weather loop from what I can tell. A little bit of housekeeping here. If you want to text us this morning or call us, yes, our call-in line is working. You can do so at 305-699-2665. That's 305-699-COOL. If you want to watch replays or listen to, since all you're going to see is a screen with some scrolling text, if you want to listen to replays of the show on YouTube, the easiest way to get there is just go to daveontheair.com. That's daveontheair.com. And click the Listen Live link. There are two links. If you're using a web browser on a computer, there's a little link at the top. You'll see it on the menu on that picture of the sandy beach. And if you're using a phone to log into the website, you'll have to scroll down to the Listen Live link in the middle of the page. But either way, it will take you right to the live link. Then once you get there on YouTube, it'll be a little thumbnail, and it'll say live in the lower right corner. Just click anywhere on the video, and it will come up to full screen. Or you don't have to, well, you have to click on it in order for it to be heard. That's for the live broadcast. Once we're done with the broadcast, it will automatically revert to the archives, which you can get by going to the second link on my DaveOnTheAir.com page, the one that says listen to recent shows. And then you'll have to go to the page. It won't look like there's anything on the page until you click the live button. I know it doesn't make any sense to click the live button if we're recorded, but hey, that's life. And when you do that, you'll get the rebroadcast of today's show. Again, our text and phone number, 305-699-2665. We'd love to hear from you this morning, whatever might be on your mind. For some reason, my texting app is not wanting to stay open here. I'll figure that out later. But nonetheless, we're here until about, I'd say about 8:45 this morning with a lot of stuff to cover for you. Gas prices have hit $4 a gallon again, the national average, as the renewed conflict with Iran and Ukraine-Russia attacks are making energy markets pretty nervous. It's the first time that the national average has been at $4 or higher since June 17th. So how are those low gas prices working out for you? On Friday, U.S. crude settled at $82.49. International Brent crude oil closed at $88.10. Gas prices had fallen in recent weeks to as low as $3.79 on July 7th. That's national average, and July 8th, but have trended higher again over the last 2 weeks as Washington and Tehran exchanged daily attacks in a battle over the crucial Strait of Hormuz. If you haven't heard the sad news, 3 more servicemen have been killed in the conflict with Iran, bringing the total number of U.S. service persons killed to 17. I was under the impression we were only going to be in this thing for a few days, a short period of time, and they weren't expecting any casualties. So we've got a problem in the Middle East right now. A little something for you to chew on here this morning of a funny nature. An office manager in Hungary got into some trouble after he sent an email to his staff suggesting that the work week begin with, quote, vigorous back and shoulder rubs. I think that sounds like a terrific idea. The manager wrote to his staff, quote, that we're living in stressful times, and he felt like, quote, we could all be more productive on a Monday if employees took a few minutes to pair off and give each other a shoulder or a vertical back rub to each other for 1 to 2 minutes. Yikes. Yikes. Oh, there's another way you can text us too, and I should mention this. We have a chat. I don't know exactly how it works, but with the YouTube feed, there is a chat option, and you can send me a message, and I'll see it, and then I can respond to it. So all of that being said, we're about to take a break here, and when we come back on the other side, we're going to talk with Naples author J.W. Kerwin about his new book, Fixing Uncle Sam, A Modern U.S. Constitution to Fix a Broken and Broke Government. That's what he had to say. So check it out, and we'll be right back.
You've got Dave Elliott.
And a minute out for Alice Sweetwater's. It's sizzling summer out there. You can tell just by looking at the steam on the windows in the morning. But Alice Sweetwater's has summer sizzling lunch specials just for you every day from 11 to 4. Mondays, the Smash Burger Beach Break for $12. Tuesday, it's Taco Tuesday for $12. Wednesday, the Dockside Duo, which is my favorite. 3 chicken fingers, 3 fried shrimp served with golden fries, $12. And Thursday, the classic French dip. You'll love it. Don't forget Fridays, the local catch lunch. And don't forget Alice Sweetwater's for dinner and snacks and everything in between. It's Alice Sweetwater's, my favorite place to eat, and yours too, I'm sure. At the corner of Glades Boulevard and Airport Road, diagonally across from the East Naples Home Depot, Alice Sweetwater's, where they serve crabs, shrimps, and big people.
Most people out here think that taking care of one another is important. And most people would step up for a neighbor going through a tough time. Most people around here help out friends and family when they need it. But the funny thing is, most of us won't look for help when we need it. Talk to someone if you're struggling with mental health, because most people out here really care. Find more information at loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Hey, wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind. Like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest.
Uh-oh.
Or that time you forgot to roll up your windows in the car wash.
Fantastic.
Yeah, a remote control would have come in handy then. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Life doesn't come with a remote control. Yikes! So you're on your own with the wasps. You have the power to take control of prediabetes. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
He'd like to apologize to anyone he has not yet offended. Be patient. He'll get to you shortly. Dave Elliott.
Thank you, Mike, and welcome back to the show on a Monday morning here at 7:14. And I'd like to welcome to the program Naples author J.W. Kerwin. Jim, good morning.
Good morning, Dave.
Thank you for joining us. I understand you're enjoying the incredible weather up in the hills of North Carolina.
Yep, we're up here where the humidity is low and the temperature is moderate.
I'll take it any day of the week. We definitely have not got. I'm sure you're not missing the heat and humidity here in Naples.
No, I love Naples, but This time of year, it's nice to be up in the mountains.
Well, it probably was was this the spot in the mountains where you wrote your book, Fixing Uncle Sam?
Well, yeah, part of the time, yeah. I mean, this is a book that's taken me over a year to write, so it's.
Well, you are an attorney, as I understand it. So are you a constitutional scholar as well?
Oh, I don't consider myself to be a scholar. I, I know a little constitutional law. Yes, I practiced law back in my home state of New Jersey, but no, I don't consider myself a scholar. I'm just a taxpayer who's gotten tired of watching the government misspend our money.
Well, that has certainly happened. And so your book, Fixing Uncle Sam, A Modern U.S. Constitution to Fix a Broken and Broke Government, is actually kind of a pathway that you put forward, suggesting that it's time to modernize the Constitution. Tell us a little bit about your idea.
Well, there are currently 4 convention of states movements that are campaigning for a convention of states to amend the Constitution. And my thesis is, instead of amending the Constitution, we've already got 27 amendments tacked onto it. It's time to take a fresh look and just change the original Constitution for a modern version that addresses the problems we're facing today.
So the founders were, in their infinite wisdom, of course, did the best they could, not having any idea what kind of society would exist, say, 250 years later. But
Yeah, I think that's true. I think they also underestimated the chicanery that politicians will use to get around the checks and balances they built in.
Give me some examples of the chicanery that you are concerned about.
Well, I mean, if you actually sit down and read Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution that lists the powers of Congress, the powers that Congress technically has under the Constitution are quite limited. It wouldn't give Congress the power, for example, to pass a law requiring people to buy insurance. And yet we've seen that happen. In the book, I relate the incident in which a reporter asked a member of Congress what in the Constitution would allow you to pass a law requiring people to buy insurance. And this person, with a wave of the hand, said, and this is a literal straight quote, "We're Congress. We can do anything."
Yeah,
And it's that sort of arrogance that's gotten us to the point where we've got a government that's passing laws that it really isn't allowed to pass if you were to read the Constitution. And in the course of all that, spending a lot of money that, frankly, we no longer have.
Now, in the book, you go through the Constitution and you kind of lay out what it would look like with a preamble, Article 1, Article 2, Article 3, and so on and so forth. How did you develop this thesis?
Well, if you look at the government we have today and you look at the government that the framers intended, you see that what we've got is really not what they intended. I came across a quote from James Madison, who was the principal draftsman of the Constitution, and he wrote that the powers delegated to the federal government by the Constitution are few and defined, while those to be exercised by the states are numerous and indefinite. And I think, as we just discussed, what we see today is a federal government that's, well, I don't want to use the term run amok, but it's certainly engaged in a lot of runaway spending.
Well, $30 trillion plus in debt certainly is not anything to sneeze at, considering that the interest payments on that alone are greater than the entire defense budget.
Yeah, that's pretty scary.
What? Give me some examples of things that you would change and what you would change them to.
Well, Article 6 of this Fixing Uncle Sam Constitution deals with government finance. And it begins by listing the revenue sources that the federal government can use. And it only has 5 sources of revenue: user fees, remittance taxes, excise taxes, tariffs, and a personal income tax. And it starts with the premise that this is the money you've got. Now figure out the best way to spend it, rather than starting out with a congressional wish list of all the things we want to do. And then, well, we'll either borrow the money or come up with a new tax in order to raise the funds we need to implement these plans. So it turns things around. And it forces Uncle Sam to operate on a budget just like the rest of us.
Do you advocate for a balanced budget amendment or a balanced budget provision in the Uncle Sam Constitution that you're proposing?
Well, you will end up with a balanced budget simply because it puts a limitation on borrowing. It caps borrowing at the current level. And the only time the federal government is able to borrow is in times of war, when it's been declared by Congress.
Well, we've already seen that we don't need Congress to declare war, apparently.
Well, that's true. Actually, Congress, one of the interesting things I came across in my research and writing the book is Congress has only declared war 5 times.
Yeah.
The War of 1812, the Spanish-American War, the Mexican-American War, World War I and World War II. Every other military engagement that we've been involved in, from Vietnam to Afghanistan to Iran, there's no declaration of war.
So moving ahead, then, what do you think the likelihood is that Congress would be willing to take something like this seriously, or the states, because it would require ratification by the states?
Right. There are 2 ways to amend the Constitution. You've got the federal method, whereby Congress proposes amendments that then have to be approved by the states, or you have what's called the Convention of States method, whereby the states propose amendments, which again have to be approved by the states. It's not likely that Congress is going to propose any amendments or any change that limits the federal government's power.
How do you feel? I'm sorry, go ahead.
There are 4 Convention of State movements, and interestingly, Governor DeSantis has thrown his weight behind one of them. I'm not sure which one. I don't remember off the top of my head. As I said, there are 4. There are 2 in particular that seems to be making a lot of headway. One of them has, I think, 28 of the 34 states required. So they're getting there.
Well, how do you feel about term limits?
Well, the Constitution that I drafted here includes term limits for all federal offices, including judges.
And that would include the Supreme Court?
Yeah, all judges.
Okay, well, that makes...
I mean, they have a 7-year term. They could be reappointed, but after 7 years, their term ends.
I think that in the old days, if you pardon me using that expression, a lifetime appointment was you maybe died at 45. We're now living into our 80s, 90s, and 100s, and the lifetime takes on a whole different meaning.
Yes, it does. It does. And you end up with career politicians. They seem more intent on raising money for their next campaign than doing what we elected them to do.
And if you've been watching local TV, I know you've been out of town up in North Carolina, but if you've been watching TV, you'll see ads for not county commission. Well, they're running some county commission ads, but for state rep, U.S. rep, and so on and so forth. And every single one of the ads that is running says exactly the same thing. Mm-hmm. We support the president. We want illegals to go home. I mean, it doesn't matter what they say. But nobody is saying anything different from the other people. And after a while, you basically are voting for a generic candidate just so you don't have to vote for somebody of the other party.
Yeah.
And I really think that a constitutional change that needs to be made. Well, first of all, I believe elections should be kept at the state level as the Constitution lays out. That probably is the best way to have no federal undue influence in the election process. The other thing that I would like to see done is shorten the election cycle somehow. It just seems to go on for freaking ever. You know what I mean?
Well, the Fixing Uncle Sam Constitution proposes a unique way to elect a president, which is probably one of the more dramatic changes in the document. Instead of having the election as we know it today, every 2 years, the governors would meet and under the supervision of the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court would select one of them to serve as president and one to serve as vice president. This eliminates the whole campaign season. It eliminates the whole problem of underinformed voters or low information voters, as they're called.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of 2 candidates, you have the potential to have up to 50. Each of those candidates knows what it takes to be the chief executive of a state, which in many respects is a microcosm of the United States. And each one of them has experience.
Well, that's sort of a take on the Electoral College in a way, but it
Well, it
doesn't
is.
allow for direct election of a president by the people of the United States.
Well, except that it does, because the people are electing the governor of their state with the knowledge that that governor may one day be president. So it makes gubernatorial elections much more important.
Well, it's an interesting idea. I think that people who are, what do they call them, textualists or originalists, who believe that the Constitution needs to be taken completely literally and with the idea that what the founders intended, it is not as important as what the words on the printed page are. I think from that standpoint, the modernization of the Constitution seems to make a lot of sense. Do you agree?
Yeah, I came across an interesting quote. I'm looking for it here in my notes relating to the selection of the president. And this was really debated at the Constitutional Convention of 1787. There's a quote here from Elbridge Gerry talking about the selection of the president. And he was in the camp that wanted Congress to fill the office of president and vice president, because according to him, and this is a quote, the people are uninformed and would be misled by a few designing men.
Yeah, that has to do with the Electoral College, though, right?
No, well, that's why they ended up with the Electoral College.
Right.
I mean, it was a compromise.
It's clearly outdated and needs to be eliminated, in my view.
Well, yeah, okay. What I'm proposing here is a take on the Electoral College.
Right.
It's still an indirect form of voting, but it is consistent with what the framers intended.
Well, it's a fascinating read. It's an easy read. It's not a big book, so you can sit down and read it in an evening or two, and I think you'll get a lot out of it. It's called Fixing Uncle Sam, A Modern U.S. Constitution to Fix a Broken and Broke Government. Its author, J.W. Kerwin, joins us this morning. And Jim, where can people get the book?
It's available on Amazon.
Super. Well, thank you for joining us this morning. Best of luck. I hope the thing sells 1 billion copies and that your ideas are subject for a lot of discussion.
Thanks for the invite. Always a pleasure to talk with you, Dave.
Well, we'll have you back on at some point. I have no doubt, and get into more weighty matters concerning the Constitution. Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, 7:29. When we come back, we're going to be talking with Collier County Supervisor of Elections, Melissa Blazier. Stay right there, and we'll be right back. To talk to you about your hearing, and especially if you are experiencing hearing problems or you've noticed recently that your hearing just isn't as acute as it used to be. Well, the folks at Naples Audiology and Hearing Center can take care of that for you. My friend, audiologist and owner Christine Peacock, and her entire staff are dedicated to one thing and one thing only. And no, it's not the freshly baked chocolate chip cookies you'll find every day when you walk in, but it's your hearing. If you wear cochlear implants, they can help you with that. If you wear hearing aids, they can help you tune them up or get them repaired if they're under warranty. Or if you need to be replacing them, they can help you with that too. At Naples Audiology and Hearing Center, they are the experts. They've been around a long time, and it's not this one-size-fits-all thing with them because everybody's hearing concerns are unique. Naples Audiology and Hearing Center, online at napleshearingcenter.com, or call them at 239-434-2434 and tell them you heard about it on the Dave Elliott Show.
When I smoke weed, I get lost in the music. I like to isolate each instrument, the rhythmic bass, the harmonies on the piano, the sticky melody.
Hey, careful, babe. There's someone crossing the street.
Sorry, I didn't see him there.
If you feel different, you drive different. Don't drive high. It's dangerous and illegal everywhere. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
He has a unique set of skills that can somehow turn any situation into an awkward one. Dave Elliott.
Yeah, that's me, Mr. Awkward himself. Well, thank you for joining us on our Monday morning show here, live on YouTube. You can call or text us at area code 305-699-2665. Love to hear from you. I'm also happy to have with us on the phone right now this morning our supervisor of elections here in Collier County, Melissa Blazier. Hi, Melissa.
Good morning, Dave.
Thank you for joining us this morning. I know there's been a lot of talk about elections recently on the federal level, and we're not going to get into that today, but I wanted to give people a chance to know what the plan is moving forward with our elections here in Collier County, and what deadlines we're looking at coming up soon or already here.
Absolutely. So we are right in the middle of really the primary election now. So we've kicked off our 2020 election cycle in Collier County. Primary election is August 18th. And today is actually one of our biggest deadlines for that election. It is our voter registration and political party affiliation change deadline. So folks need to remember that Florida is a closed primary state. And so they have to be registered with one of those two major political parties in order to participate in those parties' primaries.
All right. And
now there's something on the ballot for everyone in Collier County this primary election. So even folks who are registered nonpartisan or with a minor party, they will still get a ballot. They just won't get a full ballot per se.
And I know that mail ballots have gone out. I have mine sitting on my desk right in front of me right now. There has been some talk that maybe mail-in ballots at some point won't be allowed. What do you think about that?
I don't see that happening in the state of Florida. I know there's been a lot of talk about that, but it's been almost 20 years now that in the state of Florida, we changed from absentee voting to mail voting. It's one of the most safe and secure methods of voting in the state of Florida. And millions of voters across our state opt to vote by mail during each election.
I totally love it. I completely love the convenience of it. The being able to take the ballot, and if you're so inclined, do your research on each name on the ballot in real time, and then make your decision that way. I mean, that in and of itself makes the value of it worth considering.
Absolutely. So for this upcoming primary election, we've already mailed out over 37,000 vote by mail ballots.
Wow.
And we'll continue to mail those out. But folks have to request a vote by mail ballot because there is a deadline, by August 6th at 5 p.m. So if people want to vote by mail, there's still an opportunity to request a ballot to be mailed to them.
Now, how long will ballots be accepted after the actual election day on whatever it is, the 18th, I guess?
Yes, so that's a huge thing in the state of Florida is that postmarks do not count. So don't rely on the postmark on the ballot return envelope. We actually have to have a voter's ballot in our hands by 7 p.m. on election day. So by 7 p.m. on August 18th, I have to have that ballot. Otherwise, it won't be counted.
Now, a little bit about election security. I know something about this because in working with you and with your predecessor, Jennifer Edwards, I'm aware of the safeguards that are taken to guarantee that ballot integrity is at the highest levels. Tell us some of the things, including air gapping, explain what that is, and how you have a paper trail for the ballots.
Yeah, so in the state of Florida, we have been 100% paper ballot since 2007. So we always have that paper ballot to go back to be able to audit election results. In addition to that, just a request to vote by mail ballot, we don't just automatically mail them, right? Voters have to request one. We are going to ask for a ton of personal identifying information in order for a voter to even request that ballot. And then every ballot that is returned to us, a human being verifies the signature on the outside of the envelope. So we are looking at that signature and we are pulling up the voter's record, the information we have on file, and we're matching that information. A big thing about in-person voting in the state of Florida, we're a photo signature ID state. We have been since the 70s. So voters are required to present, a photo and signature ID. Most of us present our driver's license or, Florida ID card, but that is required to vote in the state of Florida.
Regarding
our voting system
Yeah,
is not, like you said, air gapped. It is not connected to the internet. There is no way to hack this voting system because it's not connected.
Yeah, it's what they call air gapped, which means there is no way that any foreign adversary or sneaky person or whoever it might be can get into the system and, for example, manipulate or change votes or steal material or data. It just isn't possible.
Exactly.
And that's true. Isn't that true for most voting systems around the country from what you...
Yes, that is.
Yeah. So some of those rumors about machines changing votes it's just bunk.
It's bogus.
Yeah.
And one of the other major things, and this is happening across the country, and in Florida, it's been happening since 2009, but we do a post-election audit. So we randomly select a precinct in a race, and we hand count that precinct in race to ensure that the machines were counting all of the votes properly. Again, since 2009, we've had 100% accuracy in all of the manual audits that we've conducted in Collier County.
You've never seen an instance of even attempted fraud or where maybe mistakenly somebody voted here when they should have voted up north, for example, if they're a snowbird?
Well, you know what? We have some instances like that almost every election where we have folks who mail in their vote by mail ballot and then claim they forgot and show up on election day. And we remind them that they have already cast a ballot and they cannot cast a second one. We're an elderly community. So, some of it you've got to give and take a little bit, but we have not had any actual instances of, this hacking fraud, non-citizens voting, stuff like that.
Now, for people who did request a mail-in ballot for this primary, they will also receive one for the general. Is that correct?
Only if they requested one for the general. So if you request on our website, it'll actually have you check a button that says that you want an all elections request. We've got some folks who are maybe up north right now, so they could have one mail ballot going for the primary election, to their northern address. And then maybe for the general election, they know they're going to be back in town. And so they didn't request one for that.
Oh, darn it, I forgot my question. And it happens when you're elderly like me.
Now.
The primary and generals follow the same basic formula then. So what we're doing I know what I was going to ask you. Some things have changed since the 2024 election in the way people get their ballots. It used to be you could make kind of a request that was good for, 2 election cycles?
Yeah, for 4 years. And now you can only request for 1 election cycle. So at the end of this year, on December 31st, we wipe all of the requests out to 0 and we start all over for the 2028 election cycle.
And still, you've mailed out 37,000 mail-in ballots. So that tells you that people are paying attention and heeding your advice.
And we'll mail even more for the general election, which is outstanding.
Really. And of course, for people who want to drop them off, your offices are in East Naples. Tell us where they are exactly.
Yeah, so our main office is at 3750 Enterprise Avenue. And then we also have 2 satellite locations. So we're at the Heritage Bay Government Services Center, and we're also at the North Collier Government Services Center. Those 2 satellite locations are open daily from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m.
And you can return your mail-in ballots in person to those locations as well as the main location if you so desire.
Yes, we have, they're called secure ballot intake stations at all 3 of those locations. And then in addition to that, once early voting kicks off, and that's going to be August 8th through the 15th, we will also have a secure ballot intake station at all 11 of our early voting locations, and ballots can also be deposited there.
Super duper. Well, thank you for spending a few minutes. I know you're ramping up for the primary on August 18th, and we'll be providing messages to people between now and then to let them know what's happening. Melissa Blazer is our supervisor of elections here in Collier County, and thanks so much for joining us this morning.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Have a great day.
The same to you. And it is now 7:41 on this Monday morning. I thank you for joining us today. You know who George Santos is? You've probably heard of him. Remember that guy who got kicked out of Congress and wound up going to jail, getting pardoned? A little bit weird. Lied a lot. Like every time he opened his mouth, he told a lie. Well, George Santos has worn many, many hats. And all because of, I guess you could argue, because of his inability to tell the truth ever. He now has a new gig. Starting in September, he will appear on the 5th season of Fox's Special Forces World's Toughest Test, a grueling contest where participants will be subjected to chemical gassing and other military-themed challenges in a Malaysian jungle, according to what the network announced last week. I'm guessing that he will last about 12 seconds in this competition. Oh, where is my 5-star meal and my bed service being turned down? And I just can't believe it. He wrote on a post on X, I took my fat behind off the couch and tried something new. He wrote, along with a promotional image of himself standing next to a tree with a stern expression on his face. And it changed everything, he said. I can't wait to share this experience with y'all. Now, he's got some names that he's going up against. Actor Ruby Rose, who will probably make him look like a simpering little child. Former NBA player Matt Barnes will be there. Santos was elected to the House, as you may recall, from New York in 2022 as a Republican, but he wound up serving less than a year in office after it was revealed he had fabricated much of his life story. He was expelled from Congress while facing criminal charges over stealing from donors and his campaign fraudulently collecting unemployment benefits and lying to Congress about his wealth. He pleaded guilty but had his sentence commuted by the president after serving around 84 days in prison. You get more time for speeding. He later tried to reboot his political career with another run for the House, but he quickly abandoned the run after raising exactly $0. $0. 305-699-2665 is our number here live on the Dave Elliott Show. And you can reach us at that number between the live hours of 7 and about 8:30 or 8:45 most days. We have solved our connectivity problems, and I would appreciate if you are listening this morning, first of all, send me a text and let me know you're out there, will you? At 305-699-2665. I'll mention your name on the show. Coming up later in the show, we're going to be talking with former political science professor Peter Bergerson, and then our pal J.C. Bruce will be joining us as well, all in the 8 o'clock hour this morning. I hope you'll stay with us. We will be back right after this.
You've got Dave Elliott.
And a minute out for Alice Sweetwaters. You know, it's sizzling summer out there. You can tell just by looking at the steam on the windows in the morning. But Alice Sweetwater says summer sizzling lunch specials just for you every day from 11 to 4. Mondays, the Smash Burger Beach Break for $12. Tuesday, it's Taco Tuesday for $12. Wednesday, the Dockside Duo, which is my favorite. 3 chicken fingers, 3 fried shrimp served with golden fries, $12. And Thursday, the classic French dip. You'll love it. Don't forget Fridays, the local catch lunch, and don't forget Alice Sweetwater's for dinner and snacks and everything in between. It's Alice Sweetwater's, my favorite place to eat, and yours too, I'm sure, at the corner of Glades Boulevard and Airport Road, diagonally across from the East Naples Home Depot. Alice Sweetwater's, where they serve crabs, shrimps, and big people.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough. But if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. The Alzheimer's Association provides care, support, and research to help you take control of the situation with your family and manage the disease together. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Hey, wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You know, you could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind. Like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest.
Uh-oh.
Or that time you forgot to roll up your windows in the car wash.
Fantastic.
Yeah, a remote control would have come in handy then. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. But prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Life doesn't come with a remote control.
Yikes!
So you're on your own with the wasps. You have the power to take control of prediabetes. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Even if he were cloned, he'd still be one of a kind, and the better looking one. Dave Elliott.
Well, thank you for texting me and letting me know you're out there. I heard from Rick this morning. Just heard from somebody who said, my wife and I have all these T-shirts. We need to replace them with Dave Elliott T-shirts. Am I selling them? Well, not yet, but I'll sure make it a point to do so if you want them. I'm all about commerce. You don't have to tell me twice. By the way, the Collier County Sheriff's Office is reporting some traffic tie-ups this morning. At 7 o'clock this morning, there was a non-injury crash at Sunshine Boulevard and Green Boulevard. Got another one at 12101 Immokalee Road, and yet another one at 27128 Immokalee Road. Let me look and see where those are. The one is near Emerson School at Naples on Immokalee Road, and the other one, the 27128, is actually, it looks like it's in a suburban area and probably not a high traffic area after all. So the usual slowdowns are occurring East Naples on the East Trail, you'll find slowdowns at Davis and Santa Barbara, I-75 and Immokalee Road and Collier Boulevard. Tie-ups there, not too severe. So thank you for texting us at 305-699-2665. To keep this show going, I am asking you to let a friend or two of yours know on your social media what we're talking about here, and that we're doing this thing every single Monday through Friday now that we have all of our various connectivity issues worked out. So I appreciate your listening and re-listening. If you missed a show, they're all available on YouTube. Coming up in just a few minutes, at about 8 o'clock this morning, we're going to check in with Dr. Peter Bergerson, our good friend and the former professor of political science at Florida Gulf Coast University. I know the election, the primary, and for that matter, the ensuing general election in November are on people's minds. And we're going to spend a little time with him doing an analysis of where the governor's race, the state rep races, the U.S. rep races stand. And then later on, we're going to talk with J.C. Bruce, our good friend, the author and columnist. He is a big soccer fan, has been following the World Cup now that it's concluded, has been following it ever since it started here in the United States. We're going to talk to him a little bit about that. I'm going to tell you about a recent adventure that I undertook vicariously. And if you haven't seen it already, A&E last week ran a 2-part series. I think they ran it last week and maybe the week before. I just saw it yesterday on the Scott Peterson case. Do you remember Scott Peterson? Go back all the way to 2003. He was convicted of killing his wife, Lacey, and their unborn child. Well, there's new evidence that apparently has come to the fore and is being investigated by the Los Angeles Innocence Project. They believe that he is innocent of the crime and have done a deep dive into the case. They did have their attempt to get a new trial thrown out by a judge, but they're appealing that. And the 2-part series on A&E goes into quite a bit of detail about the evidence that they say they found. Anyway, we'll be talking about that. On paper, as a lead up to our conversation with Dr. Peter Bergerson in a few minutes, the Republican primary to be Florida's next governor appears to be a little more than a formality. Republican primary. The clear frontrunner, Rep. Byron Donalds of Naples, carries into the final weeks of the race President Donald Trump's endorsement, the backing of most of the state's GOP establishment, a huge fundraising advantage, and almost no opposition on the airwaves. But there is a notable holdout to endorsing Mr. Donalds for governor, even though I think I saw an ad of his on TV where he actually says he's worked with the governor, but Governor DeSantis has not yet endorsed him, even though President Trump has. He is still immensely popular among Florida Republicans, the governor is, but he has refused to hand the baton to Donalds and has spent months publicly and privately arguing that Mr. Donalds is unfit to replace him. He's even shared his reservations directly with Mr. Trump, according to a person close to DeSantis with knowledge of a recent conversation between the two. Yet, he has failed to throw his support behind an alternative as well, according to reporting in the Miami Herald. Undercutting other Republicans trying to take down Donalds, he's declined to elevate the lieutenant governor, whose name you probably don't know, but it is Jay Collins, despite appointing him to the post just a year ago. And he's dismissed the candidacy of former State House Speaker Paul Renner, who was once a close ally who helped muscle the governor's agenda through the legislature before his presidential campaign. So that's a little background, and we'll be talking with Dr. Bergerson about this in just a few minutes. In the meantime, if you are a Social Security recipient, I have a little bit of bad news for you. According to an article in the Atlantic written by, let me get her name for you, Hilary Mantel, you might be curious to know that things don't look good for Social Security. On the David Frum show on the Atlantic's website, he says the bill is due. Maya McGinnis was interviewed and said, "You look at young people, they don't trust our economic system. The vast majority of them don't think Social Security will even be there for them. And they're starting en masse to resent the huge commitments that we have created for them, right? Because we made promises that a huge portion of their budget will go to programs for seniors. So a vast amount of the budget is going to go to Social Security and Medicare. Those are intergenerational commitments," she said. And they're thinking, wait a second, we don't trust these systems. We don't trust the permanency, the long-termness, the intergenerational piece of it. She said, and I'm really worried about the intergenerational tensions that are simmering as a result of that. And she said, quite frankly, I think they're right. I think the young people are absolutely right. You can find this interview. It's really interesting at the Atlantic, the David Frum show on YouTube. And I urge you, if you are a recipient or about to be a recipient of Social Security, check it out. Prince Harry says his full-time job these days is raising his 2 kids. Last week on the Joe Marler Will See You Now podcast, released a new episode featuring the Duke of Sussex, hosted by former England rugby player and Celebrity Traders alum Joe Marler, or Marley, I'm not sure which it is. The interview was apparently filmed during Harry's recent trip to the UK. During the conversation, Marler asked Harry to introduce himself using his full name before revealing his occupation. Henry Albert Charles David, Duke of Sussex, he replied, although not quite as stentorianly as I just did it. Full-time dad, British Army veteran, Prince of England, Duke, but for today I don't know. What do you want? He said. Harry said, he ultimately settled on Duke, which happened to be the name of the first dog my family had when I was a kid. The revelation surprised Kinsey Schofield, host of YouTube's Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. Instead of giving his full name, he gave his title, she said. His full name is Henry Charles Albert David Mountbatten Windsor, unless he has legally changed his name to Sussex, which I have seen no evidence that he has. Duke of Sussex is a title, not a name, she said. It was a subtle moment, but one that reinforced how closely his identity remains tied to his royal status. So he has a new job, although the conversation seems to be about his name. His full-time job is, I'm sure he doesn't mean by himself, is helping to raise his kids with Meghan Markle. All right, we have a time here for one more break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking with our good friend, Dr. Peter Bergerson, formerly of Florida Gulf Coast University. Stay there.
You've got Dave Elliott.
I'd like to take a minute to talk to you about your hearing, and especially if you are experiencing hearing problems or you've noticed recently that your hearing just isn't as acute as it used to be. Well, the folks at Naples Audiology and Hearing Center can take care of that for you. My friend, audiologist and owner Christine Peacock, and her entire staff are dedicated to one thing, and one thing only. And no, it's not the freshly baked chocolate chip cookies you'll find every day when you walk in, but it's your hearing. If you wear cochlear implants, they can help you with that. If you wear hearing aids, they can help you tune them up or get them repaired if they're under warranty. Or if you need to be replacing them, they can help you with that too. At Naples Audiology and Hearing Center, they are the experts. They've been around a long time, and it's not this one-size-fits-all thing with them because everybody's hearing concerns are unique. Naples Audiology and Hearing Center, online at napleshearingcenter.com, or call them at 239-434-2434 and tell them you heard about it on the Dave Elliott Show.
Put your phone on D&D, that means do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always sing with me. So put your phone on D&D, that means do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always remember this beat.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
When he talks to Alexa, she always says, "Leave me alone." Dave Elliott.
Thank you very much there, Michael. Appreciated kindly those kind words, even though you're a little snarky there, buddy. I'd like to say good morning to our longtime friend, former. Are you considered a former professor of political science, Peter, or are you just?
Well, my official title is President Emeritus.
President Emeritus.
Yes.
Well, that's wonderful.
Well, thank you very much.
You're now the president. I like it. You have for many years we've known each other, and you have constantly provided me with great analysis of all manner of analysis regarding elections of all types. I just did a story here about how Governor DeSantis has declined to endorse the President Trump endorsed Byron Donalds as the Republican nominee for governor, and he has in fact not endorsed anybody else. Does this seem is this unusual or normal for in a case like this?
Somewhat. It's not unique, but they have put all of the Republicans have put all their effort in our Congressman Byron Daniels, and so it's unique in this circumstance. The environment or circumstances where the governor may withhold an endorsement is if there was a real competitive race in the primary, and there is no real competitive race in the Republican primary for governor. So yes, it is.
So does this mean that the governor's endorsement is not that big a deal, or non-endorsement?
No, I think that reflects the relationship between the two, between the governor and
Mr. Donalds.
Yeah, I don't know the nature of it, but you would assume or think that the governor would stand behind the clearly front runner in the Republican primary.
Is this a year where it's going to be over before it's over? You know what I mean, in terms of the race? Or do you think that the Democrats, whoever they put up, will have a fighting chance against Mr. Donalds, who is the likely nominee?
Yeah, my guess is that Byron Daniels is clearly the front runner, barring something unforeseen, that he would be most likely elected as the next governor of Florida.
I'm sure that you, like me, have seen the many ads that are running for everybody in the world to replace Byron Donalds as the congressman from this area. Have you noticed that every single ad is practically the same as every other single ad? They all they're tying themselves to the president. They talk about immigration. I mean, there is virtual, from my standpoint, and maybe I'm missing something here. There seems to be no differentiation between any of these candidates. Nobody is standing out as the guy I want to see or the woman I want to see in Congress.
Yeah, no, that's that's obvious, and the reason is, I think, or at least one of the reasons, is that Florida is overwhelmingly, or our congressional district here, where the ads that we're seeing are just overwhelmingly Republican and pro-Trump, and so the the margin will be very small between, I think, uh, a few candidates, at least for Congress, and those who can get the hardcore MAGA vote is going to be the winner. And so on the congressional level, yes, they're all tied themselves to how they have the best buddy of the president.
Well, his approval ratings are somewhere in the mid 30s right now, I think, for the most part, 36, 37%, which is kind of low. And what happens if this thing with Iran does not get resolved by either the midterms or the general election? And, everybody thought this was going to be 3 days, in and out, boom, 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 done, over, straight open, gas prices plummeting again. We haven't seen any of that happen. Does this become an albatross for those people who might have tied themselves to the president?
Yeah, it's somewhat, particularly, I would say, particularly for the marginal Republicans and independents. Those are going to be the ones that are going to reject the Republican label in the perhaps even the primary or the general election. I think that it won't make a difference for hardcore Republicans, that 37% that you referenced regarding the president's public opinion rating. Those 37%, at least some significant portion of them, will still be voting, and they'll be voting for their candidate. I suspect that, and this is one of the things I think was an effect of the president's speech on Thursday night, is to divert attention away from the war with Iran, the economic data that is unfavorable, and to have another issue to dominate the news. And the idea of, at least that he put forward, of fair elections, everyone's in favor of fair elections. And so anyway, I think that he'll look over here at this shiny object as opposed to the war or the economy.
So basically, where we stand right now is the Republican is a front runner in some new polling that was just given to me by my friend J.C. Bruce, who's coming up next. He found a poll of 848 likely midterm voters conducted this month by the University of North Florida's Public Opinion Research Lab, and they found 46% of respondents said they'd vote for Donald's, while 41% said they'd vote for the likely Democratic nominee, David Jolly, with 6% undecided. And that's pretty consistent with other polls. If that's the case, this indicates that it may not be a cakewalk for Mr. Donalds.
I agree. the next 3 months are going to really determine. Byron Daniels is well known here in Southwest Florida, but he's unknown throughout the state, even though he served as a state legislator. And so there's going to be a period of time, September and October, where Daniels is going to have to show his stuff. Is he a gubernatorial quality? And that may present a challenge for him.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. He's a hell of a communicator. He's very good when you watch him on TV. He's very good when you watch him in person. And that's going to go a long way toward helping him toward the
I agree.
The
I
governorship.
think the question is going to be, and at least one of the big issues is going to be, is the turnout. Who actually turns out? Who is the most motivated in the November election? That's going to be the key. I wouldn't write out Charlie. He's very personable. He has been a Republican, and he's been a member of the House of Representatives. And so I don't think the race is over, put it that way.
All right. Well, that's a good spot to leave it. We'll be checking in with you periodically between now and the primary and also the general, because I really respect your opinion and background and the observations you make about the election. So, Peter, thank you again for getting up early in the morning and joining us. I really appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Dr. Peter Bergerson, President Emeritus from Gulf Coast University, where he was a professor of political science. I'm happy to welcome my old buddy, Jeff Bruce, to the show. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm just fantastic. Thank you for joining us this morning again. Two weekdays in a row, Friday and today. I can't believe it.
I know, right? Twofers.
We're very lucky. Did you watch? I don't even need to ask. I already know the answer to this. The final game of the World Cup last night.
Yes, it was a source of great internal conflict in our household. My wife, Sandy, was really pulling for Spain, and I'm kind of a Messi fan, so I was hoping, he might have a shot at least of winning the Golden Boot, but that would have required him to get a couple of goals. He got 0, which is exactly the score that Argentina had. I have to say, if you're a soccer fan, that was one heck of a game. I mean, Argentina was playing one man down through, half
and they
the
held
game.
off Spain in that second half. I mean, with 10 to 11 men on the field.
Their goalie was superhuman. I think he set a record for the most number of blocked attempts on goal for a World Cup. Clearly, Spain dominated the game from the very first minutes of the game all the way through the end. I mean, they had more possession of the ball, playing much more aggressively, a higher energy level, and Argentina looked like, they had no business being in that game. The amazing thing was that, they were only able to score 1 goal. So, kudos to Argentina for holding them off as long as they did. But it was a heck of a game, and it was a great World Cup. I think that, for a lot of people who are football, basketball, baseball fans here in America, I think soccer's popularity is still got a long way to grow, and I think that this has really helped it. I noticed in the Miami Herald today, they had a really fun piece about all the bars and restaurants in Miami and how much business they made during the World Cup. Of course, they hosted, half a dozen of the games in Hard Rock Stadium, but
now,
apparently they just had a booming business and with a huge international crowd. He said no matter what the game was, some of these bars, they always were full. It just goes to show you the nature, I think, of Miami in particular, what an international community it is.
Well, I watched the halftime show and the second half. We had a gang over here for my wife's birthday,
Oh, yeah? Happy
And,
birthday.
yeah. And I will say, you said for soccer fans it was an exciting game. For me, it was 0-0 until they went into extra time. That doesn't sound, I mean, I hate to be a skeptic. And I will say that it was kind of fun to watch them knocking each other on the ground, which is how I got my jollies.
Yeah, a hockey fan.
Something fan. What is it? Who is it? Rodney Dangerfield said that joke. I went to a boxing match one time and a hockey game broke out.
Yeah.
So I'm beginning to get what the game is about. That I will give it. And one of the things that I take away from watching an entire half of soccer, the most I've ever watched, by the way, of any soccer match ever, was how much running these people do.
Yeah. I have interesting conversations with people. They talk about, okay. But they don't run as much as a basketball player. Well, the little box around the goals, the big box, there's the little box in front of the goal, then the big box.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's actually bigger than a basketball court. And you can put 15 of them on a soccer field. And these guys are running up and down, that acreage for 90 minutes, or yesterday, 2 full hours. I think that it's a pretty athletic sport. And if you don't have to, and if you watch the World Cup, you realize it's also very much a contact sport.
Oh, man, no doubt about it. The number of times people got knocked on their asses.
Yeah.
And there was no foul called was stunning, including that one I think the one spectacular aerial stunt that happened in
right?
where the guy went up and over and flipped and landed on his back.
Yeah.
That was something else. Hey, I have to relate something to you. I've been waiting for you to come on so we could talk about this. We may get to the things you texted me today. We may not. Because it's my show.
Right? You're in charge, dude.
Yeah. So my daughter has been working for a family as a nanny.
Okay.
The family went up to Cape Cod, to their home in Cape Cod, and they asked her if she would like to come up and work a couple of weeks up there, 3 weeks maybe.
Yeah.
So she drove with her boyfriend in her 2018 Ford F-250 with 175,000 miles on it, diesel vehicle. They drove the almost 1,300 miles from Naples to Cape Cod.
Yeah.
This was back on Monday, July 6th. They took 3 days to get there. When they got there, she did her work, but she became homesick.
Oh.
I mean, really homesick.
Yeah.
So Saturday at noon, we would check in with each other once or twice a day. How you doing? How's everything? She said, I'm coming home. And I thought she meant she was driving from the beach to her employer's home.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm coming home. Now, she's 20 years old.
Yeah.
She's driving 1,286 miles by herself. I about had a stroke.
Oh, wait a minute. Where was her boyfriend?
Well, he had gone up there with her to be with her on the trip and then flew back.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And then his plan was the end of this week, he was going to fly up there and drive back with her.
Yeah.
But she decided she was going to do it on her own, and no amount of cajoling, pleading, begging, bribing could stop her from making the trip. So she leaves at noon on Saturday, and the bottom line is I followed her every mile of the way on my iPhone with Find My.
Oh.
I was scared to death that her 8-year-old diesel pickup truck was going to break down in the middle of Virginia somewhere where some dude with a long beard and no teeth was going to, offer to help her.
You had banjo music in the back of your mind.
I'm telling you, did I ever.
Yeah.
She arrived home. Now, she left at noon on Saturday. She arrived home at 6:45 yesterday evening. And that included a 4-hour stop to get some rest at a Holiday Inn Express in Dexter, Virginia, where...
Dexter, Virginia.
I believe it was Dexter, Virginia.
That's ominous.
And she went to this first hotel, and she got there about 5 minutes to midnight. It was kind of a last-minute decision. She was getting tired.
Yeah.
She goes in and says, "Do you have a room?" And they said, "Yeah." And she texted me and said, "Dad, it's really expensive." And I said, "Well, you got to rest." So she says to the woman, "I'm going to go out and get my backpack out of the truck." She goes out and gets her backpack, and as she walks up to the door, the woman locks the door and won't let her in.
What?
"We close at midnight." "Yeah, but I was just in there and told you I was going to get a room for the night." "We close at midnight." So right next to that was another hotel, a well-known chain. She goes over there. "We close at midnight." So I said, I know this is your segment, but I'm doing all the talking here.
No, it's fine.
We got
It's
we
fine.
got lots of time.
You know, I'm getting paid by the hour. Whether
You
I
are,
talk or
yeah,
not.
I know you are.
Right.
By the word.
Yeah.
And so I said, "Well, I think there's a Holiday Inn Express down the road." I was looking on my Find My. She found one. She called them up. "Well, we're open all night." She goes there, gets a room, goes to the room. It hasn't been made up.
Oh, gosh.
Sheets off the beds, mess in the room. Lugs her 100-pound backpack back down to the desk and says to the guy, "The room isn't ready." He says, "Okay, I'll get you another room." Puts her in a room down at the very end of the hallway. She goes in, takes a shower, gets in bed, and the people in the room next to her are partying like it's 1999.
Nice.
I said, "How much sleep did you get in the 4 hours you were there?" She said, "Maybe an hour."
Oh, gosh.
So she gets in her truck, and this is at 5 o'clock in the morning yesterday, hits the road, and 13 and a half hours later, she winds up at her home in Naples. And I have never been more relieved than I was when she pulled into that driveway.
I'll bet.
Can you imagine having being a 20-year-old, not necessarily a 20-year-old, but a 20-year-old young woman by herself driving a truck with 4-inch lift package on it and having to brave it on her own? And she didn't hesitate. She was buying diesel at truck stops and everywhere else. So I have a brand new respect for my daughter.
Well, I've got one of those. My daughter she used to live in Albany, New York, and she and a girlfriend decided they were going to move to California, and they did. And, you know, she spent the intervening years driving around the country with her 2 dogs in her pickup truck from California to, back here to Florida to visit all over the place. So, yeah, I know exactly the kind of anxiety you're talking about, and also the kind of pride you have in the fact that your daughter is so resilient, man.
She is a tough cookie.
I'm pleased to hear that. That's great. And yeah, I know what you're talking about. I mean, you never get over that. I don't care how old your kids are. They're always your kids, so you're always going to be worrying about them, right? I mean, that's your job
if
as a
she was
parent.
40, I would have been worried about her.
That's right.
And my problem was not with her. It was with the vehicle. Right. I was just scared to death it was going to break down somewhere.
You should buy her a new car.
Yeah, that's what I ought to do.
You know what? We need to start a GoFundMe right now.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea.
No,
we need a brand new diesel pickup truck with, what do you call that thing? A lift package?
It's like a monster truck.
Oh, well, I could see why you would have needed one of those. I'm sure you gave that to her, right?
Well, on the other hand, she might have just scared the living crap out of anybody who she came near. She told me that when she parked at the hotel where she wound up spending the night, the only parking space was around the back, and it was dark. But there was one of these elite customer parking spaces right by the front door, and it was the only place. So she backed in there. She said, "I am parked next to the smallest truck I've ever seen." And I said, "Look, it made it look like your truck had a baby, right?" So she went into the front desk and she told the guy, and he said, "That's fine. Don't worry about it. I'll make sure that everything's fine in the morning.
Well, that's probably why those other hotels lock the doors. I mean, you know, you have this intimidating young woman show up in a monster truck, and it's like, oh my God, you know, no, it's too dangerous.
Yeah, probably. Well, I was on the phone with her the entire time she checked in at the hotel, and the guy was as respectful and courteous as could be.
Well, he knew you were there.
Hey, today, we talked about this on Friday, but today is Moon Day.
It is. Moon Day. We celebrate today the 1969 event when Neil Armstrong, having taken off from Florida, let's be clear about that, Florida, which is really where the space program takes place. They got those, you know, offices in Houston, but I mean, the real work takes place in Cape Canaveral.
Where the rubber meets the road, anyway.
That's right. That's right. Where the rubber gaskets meet the fuselage.
Ooh, don't even go there.
I know, right? So he took off, landed on this day in 1969, stepped off of the moon lander. The Eagle had landed, and he was the first human being to ever set foot on the moon. An amazing thing. Watched it live on TV, along with, you know, most of the planet. I was really kind of surprised that the video quality wasn't any better out of Hollywood like that, but
well, considering that it took place on the back lot of the Warner Brothers studios.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, it was an amazing event, and a heroic landing. And I know we've talked about this, but it just bears repeating that, you know, they designed everything to be automated, right? But he had the ability to override the controls to land it manually if there was an emergency. And just a few feet off the ground, they looked out the window that the astronauts insisted that they have actual windows on the space capsules, despite what all the early engineers in the space program, they thought that was unnecessary. He looks out the window and he sees, hey, you know what? We're about to land on a great big rock and we're going to die. So he snatches the controls away from the computer, primitive computer compared to, you know, what we all have in our cell phones right now. And with almost no fuel left at all, manages to guide the lander around to a safe and successful landing spot. I think they said something like less than 30 seconds worth of fuel left. I mean, if he hadn't done it, you know, and made those decisions as quickly as he did and as skillful as he did, there would have been no successful landing they would have landed on the moon, but it would not have been happy.
There would have been a one-way trip.
It would have been a one-way trip. So that's awesome. I mean, it's a testament to, you know, their courage and their quick thinking and their intelligence and, you know, the massive amount of training on all the equipment these guys did, you know, and all the test flights and everything else that took place so that if an emergency should happen, and of course it did, you know, they would instinctively know what to do. They wouldn't have to like grab the manual. What do we do now? I mean, they knew. And they, you know, a lot of these guys were test pilots. I mean, they, you know, former military pilots.
My understanding was he was piloting the lunar module with what looked like a joystick on a video game.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he was moving it ahead and sideways and left and right.
Yeah.
And while he was there, we don't know for sure if he found anybody living on the moon. But by surest of coincidences, if today is Moon Day, tomorrow is
Invite an Alien to Live with You Day. Yes. Yes. I have, you know, I've covered the space program since I was a teenager. I started working for newspapers when I was 19. And, you know, I can't tell you how many launches I've been to over at the Cape. And so I have a lot of sources in NASA. And they tell me that they smuggled an alien back with them from the moon. And they, you know, they landed out in they landed in the Pacific. They were rescued, and all of a sudden, you know, everybody sees this little green man that's with them. But unfortunately, there were ICE agents aboard the aircraft carrier.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they were captured. So that's where Invite an Alien to Live with You Day comes from. He's actually, as far as I know, still alive. He's in a bunker at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
He's in Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah. That's where they keep all the aliens.
I understand
Everybody
that.
thinks it's Area 50, 51, or 52, or whatever that is. It's not. It's Dayton, Ohio at Wright-Pat Air Force Base.
Well, you know, I don't know if you know this or not, but
I will in a moment.
I have it on good authority that there were little green men there because, as we all know, the moon is made out of green cheese.
Right.
So it makes perfect sense that they would have found somebody.
Cheese eaters.
Well, what the ties that bind.
I think John Scalzi has a very, very funny book out in which they actually discover the moon is made of cheese. He is. You and I are both sci-fi fans,
Yes.
and he is one of my very, very favorite, probably my favoritist science fiction writer because his stuff can be so funny and outrageous. Yeah, the moon's made of cheese.
Well,
And
I
now
go
nobody
back.
knows-
I go back to Douglas Adams. I have to look at, the Restaurant at the End of the Universe and Life, the Universe, and Everything, and of course, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I watched there was a TV adaptation of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which just did not work for me. After reading the book, I imagined who all these people were.
Oh, what they look like? Yeah.
And how they sounded. And even though he was British, I never associated them sounding British. And there's something about sounding British that makes the humor not work for me.
So that's interesting because I encountered Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy on that TV program.
Oh, you saw it there before you read the book?
Right. I mean, I had a friend visiting who said, "There's this show, you've got to see it." And then, for the next however many hours I was in front of the TV, I could not turn it off. And then later I heard the whole BBC radio broadcast. I'll tell you a funny story. My marriage almost came to an end during our honeymoon because we got married in Las Vegas, right? And so she flew out and I drove her. She had a Porsche. So I drove her Porsche from Texas to Las Vegas. We got married.
Did you get married in an Elvis chapel?
We did. Yeah. Little Chapel of the West. It was hilarious. And we're driving back. Our honeymoon is to drive back, and we're going to see the Grand Canyon and Carlsbad Caverns and stop off at fun places along the way. And I had this really great idea. I said, I've never shared Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy with Sandy. And so, we got this, small, what do you call those, tape recorder, there's not 8 tracks, but what are the small ones called? Whatever they're called. So I've got the entire
Cassette.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy on tape, and I plug it into her car, and we listened to the entire Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy all the way from Las Vegas back to Austin, Texas. And
Much to your amusement and her chagrin, I suspect.
see, I didn't know at the time. She thought this was the craziest thing that was ever happening to her in her life. I thought it was brilliant. I thought we were having just the best time listening to this amazing program. And it was only years later when she's telling people about our honeymoon and how horrified she was and wondering who the hell she just married that I realized it wasn't a big success. It's like, how could this not be a success? It's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yeah, but it's our honeymoon. Oh, yeah? Was that a conflict? So anyway.
That's hysterical. Are you a fan of true crime?
Not really. Not so much.
Well, I ran across a documentary yesterday about Scott Peterson.
Uh-huh.
And you remember him from 2003. He was convicted of killing his wife, Lacey, and their unborn child.
Yeah.
Well, the Innocence Project in Los Angeles has decided to look into the case because they believe that there was evidence that was suppressed, discarded, hidden, thrown away, whatever words you want to use, that would have exonerated Scott Peterson. So there is a documentary that is 2 parts on A&E. It was fascinating. The evidence they had and the people they interviewed and so on and so forth. They took it to a judge who refused to reopen the case, but they're going to appeal it to the federal appeals courts, which could wind up at the Supreme Court. But they argue that he is innocent. And, you think of him as a despicable human being in all aspects until you see the interviews that they've conducted and look at the evidence they had. And I have to say, I was convinced. And I was a long time believer that it was open and shut. He did it. That's all there is to it. Well worth checking out on A&E, however.
Well, the Innocence Project has quite a track record, doesn't it? Of I don't think they just randomly go.
No, they don't willy-nilly just pick every case that comes along. They do their research before they decide.
Yeah.
And the guy that was the protagonist, I guess, of the piece, the guy who narrated it and produced it, said the Innocence Project only takes cases where they truly believe the person is innocent.
Yeah.
They don't just take them for the publicity.
Right. Yeah. When back in my newspaper editor days, we've had several very talented and including Pulitzer Prize winning investigative reporters working for us. And part of their process was they would spend months looking for things that they thought might possibly be worth investigating. But given that you can take a year doing an investigative story like this and spend tons of money just to travel and document search and stuff like that. So you don't just take on something because, for a wild goose chase. You can't afford to do that.
Exactly.
So, once an outfit with some credibility, like the Innocence Project, takes on a project like this, it certainly at least bears paying attention to.
Yep. Well, I think more to come on that. I just kind of
That's
feel
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Jeff.
and not to get overly philosophical or political, but I mean, it is in fact one of the reasons for, one of the arguments against the death penalty because, new technology. I mean, we've seen a lot of this already, right? With people who've been in prison for years and years and suddenly are let out because DNA evidence shows they didn't do it.
Right.
So, you got an irreversible. Well, first of all punishment's irreversible, right? You spend, a day in jail, you never get that day back. But the death penalty certainly is the most irreversible, obviously.
I go back and forth on the death penalty. I get it as a deterrent, but I don't get it as a humanitarian, as anything, humanitarian.
I don't even think it's a good deterrent. I mean, you get convicted, you're going to spend 20 years in prison before they execute you anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think it's much of a deterrent. I think people that commit murders like that are going to commit them whether they know there's a death penalty out there and they're still committing murders. Of course, I know, how many murders weren't committed because people were afraid of the death penalty. That's an unknowable, but
I agree with you completely.
Yeah. And, and I have to say too, I mean, there's been a number of stories being written about the fact that Florida is executing people at, a record pace, that Governor Ron DeSantis has signed more death penalties warrants than, it's an historic level. And then, and I think you have to look at that and say, wow, what's that about? But then you look at the individual cases of the people who are being executed and how horrible the crimes were. It's like, boy, it's sure difficult to drum up a lot of sympathy for these people.
Well, and then there's the old biblical principle of an eye for an eye.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, what the death penalty is predicated on. Hey, I gotta call it a day. Thank you for hanging out with us this morning. I appreciate it, Jeff.
Okay, man. It's been fun.
When do we get together next time? Next week or Friday, or when is it?
Whatever you say.
All right. Well, I'll be in touch.
Okay, man.
I really enjoy our conversations, and
I do too.
And it's a lot of fun, and I think we can enlighten people on the thought of the day or whatever it might be. J.C. Bruce is the author of the Strange Files series of books, the Alexander Strange books, which all take place, well, except for one, they all take place in Southwest Florida, and even that one, I think, doesn't he wind up, as I recall, he winds up here, right? The first book?
He does. That's right. Yeah. Alexander Strange's journey has always taken him inexorably to Florida, where he becomes the quintessential Florida man.
That's right. Very well said. Tropic.press if you want to get the books or sign up for his column, and we hope you'll do that. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. We'll take a break, and on the other side of this, it's the impossible question.
You've got Dave Elliott.
I'd like to take a minute to talk to you about your hearing, and especially if you are experiencing hearing problems or you've noticed recently that your hearing just isn't as acute as it used to be? Well, the folks at Naples Audiology and Hearing Center can take care of that for you. My friend, audiologist and owner Christine Peacock, and her entire staff are dedicated to one thing and one thing only. And no, it's not the freshly baked chocolate chip cookies you'll find every day when you walk in, but it's your hearing. If you wear cochlear implants, they can help you with that. If you wear hearing aids, they can help you tune them up or get them repaired if they're under warranty, or if you need to be replacing them, they can help you with that too. At Naples Audiology and Hearing Center, they are the experts. They've been around a long time, and it's not this one-size-fits-all thing with them because everybody's hearing concerns are unique. Naples Audiology and Hearing Center, online at napleshearingcenter.com, or call them at 239-434-2434 and tell them you heard about it on the Dave Elliott Show.
When I smoke weed, I get lost in the music. I like to isolate each instrument. The rhythmic bass, the harmonies on the piano, the sticky melody.
Hey, careful, babe. There's someone crossing the street.
Sorry, I didn't see him there.
If you feel different, you drive different. Don't drive high. It's dangerous and illegal everywhere. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
It's 4 a.m., Monday, and you're literally sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. Man, that's love. And if you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. To make sure your child's in the right seat for their age and size, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
He has a unique set of skills that can somehow turn any situation into an awkward one. Dave Elliott.
Thank you very much for hanging out with us today. We'll be here for the next few minutes, and then we'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. live. Or you can catch the replays on YouTube by going to daveontheair.com. Click the Listen to Recent Shows button, and you'll find us there on YouTube. You can also, again, check us out live 7 o'clock on. Tomorrow, we're going to be joined by my good buddy Jim Watkins. Jim and I worked together in radio a number of years ago, and he is still out there doing a podcast. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to be joined by political analyst and opinion writer Bob Weiner, who is going to be talking to us direct from Washington, D.C., and we'll also have Tim Ayton with us tomorrow, of course, as we take a look at what he knows about growth in Southwest Florida. Your weather forecast for today looks like we're going to hit a high of about 90 degrees. The low tonight will be 80 degrees. Yes, 80 degrees will be the low tonight. Sunset at 8:19 p.m. UV index extreme. 78% humidity, expected 74% for today. Tomorrow, clouds early, some decrease in clouds later in the day, high 94. And then on Wednesday, we're looking at partly cloudy skies. Well, mostly sunny. Let's go with that. Scattered showers and thunderstorms developing in the afternoon on Wednesday, high 93. So, you know what time it is right now? Well, listen.
Impossible question on the Dave Elliott Show. The impossible question on the Dave Elliott Show. Try your luck now. The impossible question on the Dave Elliott Show.
A chance to be declared the smartest person in town today if you know the answer to our impossible question. And all you have to do is call us up or text us at 305-699-2665 if you think you know the answer to this. I will tell you what, this has something to do with driving. That's the clue. The average one costs $152, and about 110,000 Americans will get one today. What is it? Relating to driving, the average one costs $152, and about 110,000 Americans will get one today. Think you know the answer? Call me now at 305-699-2665. The impossible question. 305-699-2665, or text me at that same number with your answer. The average one costs $152 regarding driving, and about 110,000 Americans will get one today. Let's go to the phone and see if we have a winner here. Good morning, Catherine. You're on the air. What's the answer?
Ticket.
I'm sorry. Say it again. I didn't have your volume up.
A speeding ticket.
You win! Yoo-hoo! You are the smartest person in town. Listen to this. I even have a winner's bell for you. There it is again.
Oh, I like that.
You're
Very
welcome.
nice.
Thank you for finding us on YouTube, Catherine.
Well, I guess it took me about a week, but here you are.
Well, you know, it's really something. We have had our challenges with our internet streaming, but we got that all ironed out, and we're good to go now. So please, I know you have a wide social network.
Of course.
Or both of them, both of the people. Let them know that I'm on, and I think I'm going to get our friend Chris on too to talk with us. We haven't heard from her in a little while.
That would be great. She would love that, I'm sure.
All right. Well, congratulations on being the smartest person in town, Catherine.
Thank you. I'll stop by to pick up my merch.
Oh yeah, do that.
Yeah. Okay.
See you later.
Take care.
All right.
Thanks,
Bye. All right. There you go. That was Catherine, who knew that the answer was speeding ticket. And by the way, so did someone else get the speeding ticket correct. And by the way, a big hi to Ed, who I know is out there listening. He was working on a receptacle in the garage when I asked earlier in the show to let me know you were there. Thank you very much for joining us today. One final story here before we call it a day on the Monday edition of the Dave Elliott Show. I thought this was appropriate considering what we talked about with J.C. Bruce a few minutes ago, and it being tomorrow being Invite an Alien to Work Day or whatever it is. A meteorite that crashed into a New Jersey home is now considered one of the most scientifically valuable meteorites ever recovered because it contains the building blocks of life. What? On July 16, 2024, a meteorite tore through the roof of a home in Hillsborough, New Jersey, shortly after it shook the New York City area with a sonic boom, according to researchers at the SETI Institute, a nonprofit dedicated to exploring the origins of life and searching for extraterrestrial intelligence. The owner of the house told researchers that he heard a crash and found a hole in the ceiling of the master bedroom. And I guess the insurance company didn't buy it, but it turned out it was a meteorite that had a strong sulfur-like odor and black fragments, debris, and dust covering the room. The meteorite was then preserved by the homeowner using disposable gloves, aluminum foil, and glass jars. So at least he had some sense of the chain of evidence, I guess. Well, thanks to the homeowner's quick reaction, these are the most pristine CM-12 meteorites we know of, said Mike Zelensky of NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. After observation, scientists learned the meteorite was a CM-12 carbonaceous chondrite, an exceptionally rare and primitive type of meteorite, according to a paper published in Science Advances Wednesday. A forensic study of the fragments showed they preserved bits of a small primitive asteroid that had once been soaked in concentrated salty fluids, said Peter Jeniskins, a meteor astronomer for NASA and the SETI Institute and lead author of the paper. A high concentration of salt in briny fluids can create molecules crucial to life on Earth, and scientists say this meteorite contains some of the building blocks of that life. Pretty amazing. Meteorites from outer space that may have the building blocks of life. And I hope you have a good, lively day today. Stay cool, stay hydrated. Most of all, do me a favor and let your friends know that we're live on YouTube. We have all of our technical issues ironed out. And we will be joining you tomorrow morning right here at 7 o'clock. Our guests again will be political analyst Bob Weiner from D.C. Our good buddy Tim Ayton will be along with What Tim Knows. That'll be happening in the 8 o'clock hour. And we'll also be joined by our friend Jim Watkins. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.